I want you to get together.
Hello everyone. Just another stream of consciousness for you guys here today as I drive home from running a petty errand, shall we call it. Just things, things you've got to do where it's just one of those odd things in life you have to do, but it's kind of like, oh well, that felt a bit pointless, but it had to be done type of thing. Anyway, I've done that now, and I thought, yeah, I fancy just talking and getting a few things off my mind and streaming it out, And I suppose in a way this comes from my own tips for truther. I think one of the tips I made was, say things out loud so you can hear how you sound. And I guess I'm taking my own advice on this one. And I've been thinking a lot lately about technology, transhumanism, AI, things like that, and the future impacts this is going to start to have on us. In light of new perspectives and theories on where we are in our history and timeline, and the agendas that have been at play for something, let's say, like the little season of Satan, And it's odd because in the past, I would have considered things like secret societies and, I don't know, modern day Satanists and the Illuminati, things like that, as groups of people that have kind of always been there since antediluvian times, and they have always been growing and festering for millennia type of thing, and they've always had the kind of control over us one way or another since the dawn and advent of civilized society, since the beginning of human history and biblical ancient times. The serpent cults have always been there, the dragon cults have always been there, the sun cults have always been there, and they've always been a hidden hand esoterically influencing us since forever, But this little season theory actually negates all of that when you actually really think about it. It kind of throws it off completely, because it actually implies, no, these secret societies did not have any power at all until very recently, since the end of the millennial reign, whenever that was. And it was then that they began to usurp positions of power and leadership over humanity after Jesus Christ and his saints left, and gave over for a short season control to Satan for his time, after the millennial reign. And it seems like these secret societies pretty much rule and own everything. America was built by Freemasons, and even the name Freemason, we mentioned this before, but it implies that, they say they built all these things everywhere, these cathedrals and these beautiful buildings, especially in America. They built it all, when they moved out there. But in the name, I feel like they're telling you it was all Freemasonry. It was just laying around, left behind, remnants of the millennial reign, and they just squatted in there basically, and squatters' rights, they now own it. It's now theirs type of thing. And they basically took control of land, divvied it all out between each other in their own secret little clubs, and then initiated their own history, started rewriting the history books, all on behalf of their true master, which would have been Satan, whoever that is, whatever angel that is. And there's many speculations as to which Satan exactly we're talking about there. There's many Satans from what I understand. It simply means the adversary. So let's just go off the name, the adversary. They all work for the adversary of humanity, the adversary of Jesus and God. And they have collectively over the past 300 to 200 years, something like that, taken control and hidden themselves within their own control systems and created sock puppet leaders for us, the uninitiated masses, to believe are in control. So we look at our prime ministers and our presidents and our leaders of our countries and our politicians, and we are led to believe they are the ones who are in control, and that's all part of their design. It's kind of No, really, behind the scenes, it's the members of these secret societies. So what I'm saying there is pretty well understood stuff, you know, if you've been a conspiracy theorist for a while, it's the basics. But just how long they've been doing this for, it has suddenly become a very short period of time. Because there's no way they were doing this during the reign of Christ. Not effectively, anyway. They may have been around as true secret societies. I mean, like, they needed the handshakes, they needed the code words and the symbols, because they would have got caught and shut down and just instantly just knocked down if they had publicly come out with their beliefs and their ideas, you know, because this is the time of Jesus ruling, and there's no way Jesus was going to allow satanic, pagan, occult nonsense to fester in his kingdom, you know? So maybe that explains the secrecy and the handshakes and the symbols and the signs and the necessities for all of it, because perhaps they did live through the millennial reign with these beliefs and these desires to serve their master, but no ability to do so publicly without the consequences, you know. So maybe this explains the need for secrecy, and maybe this explains why they're not very good at keeping it a secret anymore, and they seem to be okay with that, because this is Satan's season now. Their master is in control. They don't have any fear of being exposed, because what are people going to do? They own everything. They control everything now. They control the narrative. They give people their beliefs, you know, and their master is in control. So they fear nothing. And it's kind of like, you know, if they were a secret society, why would they be so obvious about themselves? Why would they blatantly put their symbols everywhere and their signs? And, you know, let's say the Illuminati music industry, or all the films where they put their signs and symbols everywhere, and they have artists throwing up the 666 and the triangles and the pyramids, and, you know, quite literally talking about how they have alter egos, and quite, you know, exposing all the evil behind the scenes abuse rings and satanic ritual stuff. It's all publicly out in the open, you know what I mean, and encouraging witchcraft and Satanism now in mainstream media as a cool thing to do. It's kind of like, they aren't hiding, they are externalizing the hierarchy. They are making it clear that they exist and that they are in control. And it's kind of, that's a bold move, right? Or is it, if you're in the little season? Or is it just they finally have some space to stretch their legs type of situation going on? And they fear nothing in this time. I mean, they should fear the time after this, the Great White Throne Judgment, what comes after the little season. But maybe they don't care. Maybe they're kind of like, well, we know our fate, so while we have our time, we're going to enjoy it. You know, we're going to do what we want to do, and we're going to do the most heinous of acts, and we're going to be evil and to the ninth degree, because why not? We're, you know, to hell with it. We know where we're going. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's just, you know, have a good time until we get there. Maybe that's what's going on now. They've got their land, they've got their Freemasonry, they've got their buildings and their mansions and their money. They print all the money, you know. They've got infinite access to infinite resources to say and do and act and literally do whatever they want, you know. And that's what they do in Satan's little season. As long as they follow the agenda and keep their master happy, they'll continue to get all those things. And every now and then, you know, we do get glimpses of people who have had a change of heart. The conscience has finally caught up with them. The Holy Spirit has finally weighed heavily on their hearts, and they realise the error of their ways. And they try their best to use the power and influence that they have to get the message out, and then they die. If you're not useful, you're a liability. And if you're a liability, you're better off dead in their eyes. And that's basically what happens, isn't it? And that's the world we live in right now. And we see it happening all the time. People dying because they just couldn't keep their mouth shut. They knew too much. And that's the point. These people who are in these secret societies now are so in it. Like, they're so ingrained into it. They have so much on them. Like, and they have so much on other people as well. Through blackmail, through the humiliation rituals they've witnessed and what they have been a part of and had done unto themselves as well, you know. The oaths they have kept under pain of death, you know. have also witnessed other members do the same thing. They know too much, so it's kind of like I said, if you're not going to be useful, then you're just a liability. So see you in a bit. You're out, you're done for. And then they'll milk your death for everything they possibly can, for as much profit as they can possibly get from it as well after the fact. And you'll have no say in what they do with your image after you die. They own you. They own you and your image and everything about you, physically speaking. They don't own your soul, though. The devil cannot own your soul. That is God's alone. That's between you and Jesus, whether you choose to repent and turn from your ways and believe. Jesus came to save everybody, including all the members of secret societies. Everybody. Including the worst of the worst, all the murderers, all the sinners. Sin is sin, and he came to save everybody. And maybe, who knows, maybe members of these societies might hear these videos. Maybe the Fed, who's out there listening to this, and may have a change of heart themselves once they hear these words. But Jesus loves you, and he wants you to come home. It'll be okay. He'll forgive you. You've just got to leave it all behind. Stop rolling around in the mud. Just go home. I'm serious. That's all it takes. Nothing more, nothing less. He's a loving God, and he loves you. So I don't know if anyone listening needed to hear that, but that's the truth. And that's what makes all this secret society stuff seem so sad, And what, in light of the millennial kingdom already coming and going, it's so pathetic. Maybe some of these members lived through the millennial reign. They had extended life, because that's what things were like then. And maybe they lived just before the reign as well. Maybe they were part of that fourth beast system, which was diverse and unlike any other system before it, And maybe when that system when the millennium reign began, the people who were part of that fourth beast, let's call it Rome or something, or like New Rome or whatever it was. It's likely they had everything taken away from them and given over to the saints instead, and their kingdom and their honours, their status stripped away. And it seems like they had to live through that time as nothing, as the lowest of the low during the millennial kingdom, because they lived against God as the highest of the high before he established his reign. First shall be last type of situation. And it's possible they harboured that resentment for a millennia, lived during that time, seeing their kingdom being ruled by other people, the saints, and then once the millennial reign ended, they took it all back, and they continued to reign as they once did, and revived that old beast system, which is kind of like Rome in a way, and that's what kind of we live in today, the new Rome. All roads lead to Rome, right? And that's kind of that was the beast, the fourth beast, and I think that's the diverse beast we live in today. And I think it's funny that's the language that was used in Daniel during the prophecy of the beasts, that there would be this fourth beast that had sharp brass for nails or something like that, and wrought with iron, a mechanical industrial beast age, which is kind of what we're a part of now. And it's diverse in its nature, and diversity is our strength, right, guys? It's kind of, this is the little season, this is the revived beast system, and it came after millennial reign, and maybe perhaps those who were in the beast system prior to millennial reign did have to live through the millennial reign with extended life, a form of faux immortality due to Jesus Christ being in their literal presence, and the waters of life running freely, and the healing centers everywhere, frequencies. They had to live through it all, and maybe many of them did change of heart and turn from their ways and realize Jesus' kingdom was better. Or perhaps many of them held on to that resentment and hate, and as soon as the little season began, they took up all that Freemasonry. They re-established their dominance through secret societies, and they fully aligned themselves with the adversary, which was Satan, for his little season, just for petty revenge purposes. So I suppose there's no real point to what I'm saying here. Just, again, thoughts and speculations and ideas surrounding this, what secret societies really are. Because even then, when if you look back to like the 1800s and the orphan train phenomenon, you had the Odd Fellows. Okay, and the Odd Fellows are an interesting bunch, because it seems like during that time period of the late 1700s, early 1800s, just after the Bavarian Illuminati was established, not long after America was established as a nation and the Declaration of Independence, all this type of thing, you had the mass movement of children everywhere through orphan trains. And we have speculated, it seems like, these were the children of the survivors of the millennial reign, and those who lived through the millennial reign were locked up in insane asylums, and their children were orphaned and then made to work in the factories. While you had a rich aristocracy walking around in extremely posh clothing and top hats and canes everywhere, while children were slaving away in the factories and the mines. It's kind of, what kind of world is that exactly? It's so odd. And you find the Odd Fellows were in charge of, tending to the sick, caring for the orphans, and visiting the widows. And it's like they were put in control of the cleanup operation. They dealt with the children, the mentally infirmed, the insane, they dealt with it all. They dealt with the parents and the children of the millennial reign. And they probably murdered a lot of people as well, and they tended to the widows. As a result of the mass murder they probably put upon people, but they were seen as a highly charitable organisation out there to care for people. But when you look into the members of the Odd Fellows, they were all extremely high-ranking officials within governments all over the world, and highly influential actors and entertainers and people in control of industries which are specifically for entertainment purposes. And it's kind of like, what are world leaders doing, mingling in a secret society with performers and musicians and artists? It's such an odd mix and an odd blend. Could it be possible that this was the first secret society that was involved with creating a brand new culture? And to do that, they had actors who would not only play fictional characters in the movies and on the stages, but would also play real characters on the world stage. And those who did that were members of this particular actors guild we'll call the Odd Fellows. And I'm serious. Like members like I know Burl Ives was a member, or Charlie Chaplin, for example. Numerous entertainers were members. The guy who invented the circus, I've talked about him quite a lot. P.T. Barnum was an Odd Fellow, in control of the entertainment industries, prominent at that time. You find the actors were in cahoots with, like, literally prime ministers. King George was a member from Britain. It's such an odd blend of people, and you realise, well, maybe they were all actors. They were all there to create a new story, a new script, a new history, and they were the script writers, the culture creators. They were the early Tavistock Institutes, before they created these think tanks to do it for them in the future. These were the original, Odd. The history is everything's up in the air now. Our history is not what we've been told. It's likely these modern secret societies we see today, I know researchers like Gary Wayne would say they're a continuation of the dragon serpent cults of the antediluvian and post-diluvian age, and they've evolved over the centuries into the craft as we see today. But could it be that they're actually just only created about 300 years ago, 250 years ago, after the little season was ended, and these are a new thing? They're obsessed with the new world order. What was the old world order that they're now breaking? Is it really just basic human history that we've been told in our textbook. So they're referring to a specific established order that was put on the earth at one point, the millennial reign, and they want to get rid of that one and establish their own world order, their new world order. And it's not the new world order isn't a thing in the future that we're all trying to stop from happening in the conspiracy world. What if the new world order is this that we're living in now? This is their new order. This is what they've established after the reign, and we're living in it and have been living in it for the better part of 250 years. This is the new world order. This is what it looks like. They're just in the game of maintaining it, not building a new one or something else. They're always trying to progress, and get stronger technologies and all this type of thing to gain their immortality separate from God, and have the utopic millennial reign without Jesus. It seems to be the real agenda. They're trying to establish their own eternal kingdom somehow without the need for God or Jesus. And it's kind of like, why? Why would they put so much effort into doing that unless it's possible? Some of them do remember living through the millennial reign. They have lived for a long time and will continue to live for a long time. So something that makes me think of this concept, which I thought was interesting, is, I don't know if anyone knows C.S. Lewis, but he did a space trilogy. Okay, and it's one of his lesser known works. So obviously he's more known for the Chronicles of Narnia or maybe the Screwtape Letters, but he did a lot of stuff on Christianity and trying to justify it and explain it to people on radio shows. And he made this series about space travel, basically. But he instilled into it biblical concepts and ideas. And there's this character, and spoiler alert, but he basically, the first book is about a character who ends up on planets like Venus and things like this, but they're not what we think they are. And there's like an advanced race of humans on them, which are kind of like akin to like the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. And it seems like he came into contact with divinity while in space. He's kind of in heaven in a way, and he came into contact with the source energy of the universe, God, we'll call it. He kind of came into contact with God, and he was forever changed as a result of this. And in later books, 2 books down the line, it's about a secret society who has this head that they've kept alive and animated, and they worship it, and they kind of like gain information from it as a demon channels through it, like a spiritual force channels through it. And it's about their downfall, but there's this, the people who are against the evil secret society is this other society who's all for the good, and their leader is the man from the first book who ended up meeting God, and they go off what he has taught them because he's seen some things and he knows some things. And what I find interesting is, because he has encountered divinity, he lives longer. He's kind of like forever changed, and he's kind of like a semi-immortal now. His hair's become like golden and white, and his skin glows. Everything's just different now. And it's kind of like, could it be that people who lived through the millennial reign have ended up like that? Couldn't it be it was actually really, really difficult to kill people after the millennial reign because they just had some sort of bizarre strength and hardiness to their skin due to living for a millennia with Christ, and being close to divinity, that they've kind of forever physically changed in some way, and all they could do was lock them up until that divinity faded away and they died in these insane asylums. But could it be that some of these members of these secret societies, these leaders, that may still have that going on because they too lived through the reign, and they tried to find a way to maintain it in some way. Just speculating. I thought it was interesting that this idea was in that book. And there's a lot about C.S. Lewis, that's I'm not going to get into it now, but it seems like he may have known a thing or two and been a part of perhaps a society or two, a secret society or two. And he may have been hinting at something there. Who knows? Again, I'm just thinking out loud here. That's all I'm doing, so I don't really know. But I just thought that was interesting. So yeah, guys, there's some random speculations on secret societies and the timeline and where we stand now in conspiracy when we think about secret societies. Maybe they're not as old as we think they are. The type of things that were before the millennial reign are not what we see today, are not these Freemason style lodges. It was something else prior to all of this. You know, we do know there was sun worship cults and dragon worship cults around prior to all this, but now it seems like the secret societies symbolically have all the dragon and sun symbolism in there. But I feel like the secret societies of today, the mystery wisdom schools of today, have a completely unique and distinct flavour to the ancient ones. It feels like they are more established than they ever were, and they're more confident than these older ones ever were, and they know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what the overall plan is. It feels like they have a stronger confidence to be more visible than others, I guess is what I'm saying. I think you know what I mean. But I'll leave that there. I'll let you guys think about some of the things I've said, and let me know your thought trails that come from these random thought trails that I'm having here. It's just a speculation video. It's just a mix-up of ideas and thoughts, a stream of consciousness about these ideas. Let me know your thoughts and ideas. I'm interested to hear them. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
I want you to get together.